Morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is McCall Lehman, and I am here to talk to y'all about Liberty Linux. So I work for SUSE. I am the North American Solution Sales Specialist for Liberty. And with me, I have Jeff Price. Jeff, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'm Jeff Price. I'm the Global Head of Domain Architects at SUSE. I'm glad to be here today to help with this awesome opportunity.
Awesome. Okay, so in real open source, you have the right to control your own destiny. This is a sentiment that not only was spoken by the founder of Linux, but is also something that SUSE really does hold near and dear to our hearts. So why are we here today? What are we here to talk about? As I'm sure that y'all are aware, on June 30th, 2024, CentOS 7 is going to be going end of life, and RHEL 7 is going in end of maintenance. So for CentOS 7, that means no more patching, no more security patches, no more upgrades, nothing like that is going to be coming from their creator. And for RHEL, that means that everything is going to be going into extreme life support. So typically what this means following the business model is that support is still required for RHEL 7. However, it becomes very expensive to maintain. So what happens if you choose to do nothing? Well, with your CentOS 7 environment, you are going to be open up to increased security risks. Without those security patches, we all know bad actors are just going to be waiting around the corner to take advantage of that. As far as migrating, moving off of CentOS 7 or upgrading your RHEL 7, there's a lot of costs associated with that. With CentOS 7, there is an incentive to move over to RHEL 7, but once you're on RHEL 7, then they're going to want you to upgrade up to RHEL 9. If you're already on RHEL 7, they're probably already having those conversations trying to get you to upgrade to RHEL 9 as we speak. Then there's also the option of completely migrating away. So moving your environment off of Red Hat and onto anybody else. But migrations are risky. They require a lot of time and attention. You definitely want to make sure that you are making the right moves for your workloads so that nothing breaks. And I'm sorry, I jumped in and I forgot to say, if y'all have any questions while we're going, please feel free to put them in the questions box on the GoToWebinar. We prefer the question box over the chat box. We'll definitely see the questions pop up there. Moving on. So companies that compete also collaborate. Well, what does this mean? I don't know how many of y'all are aware, but with the announcement that Red Hat was going to be taking RHEL behind a paywall, SUSE joined forces with Oracle as well as CIQ to form OpenELA. So what we did is essentially we forked the enterprise Linux in order to preserve that choice for the customers. We wanted to make sure that enterprise Linux remained open source as it was intended to be. So what? So it's time for any customer that is currently using CentOS 7 or RHEL 7 to make a choice. This slide just showcases the timeline of what has been going on in the open source community and where we are now. So we are, months away from that June 30th timeline, and it's do or die time. This is a great slide just to showcase the history of SUSE. There's two things that I really wanted to point out. It's that 2006 expanded support for Red Hat. So that's actually when we started supporting RHEL and CentOS. You can see we took the Red Hat logo and made the hat green. So this is not something new. This is not something that we just started because of this trigger event. This is something that we have been working on and perfecting for the past 15 years. All of this work and effort has culminated into 2023 with the establishment of OpenELA and really beefing up what our offering is and why we wanted to talk to y'all, Liberty Linux. So this is the choice that Liberty Linux is affording our customers, is affording y'all. either maintain your current environment or the option to modernize. Now, when we say maintain, this is the coolest thing about Liberty. You do not have to migrate. There is no moving. We are able to actually support your environment in place. It's a very straightforward. We're literally just porting over so that you're no longer calling to a Red Hat repo. You'll now be calling to a SUSE repo. Still getting the upgrades and the updates and able to call in to support when and if you need it. We're also supporting versions 7, 8, and 9 for RHEL as well as CentOS. Modernize is really just taking things that one step further. So if you have your current environment, you know that you want to migrate away, but you're maybe not quite ready to do that today. Liberty gives you that time and space to really plan things out, make sure that you're making the right decision, testing your workloads. And then with the Modernize offering, we're also including SLES subscriptions. So once you've done your testing, once you've done your due diligence, you're actually able to take your Liberty and migrate it over to SLES when it makes sense for you. This is literally the money slide. So this is the offering. This is what we're doing as far as promotion for Liberty Linux. Under the maintain umbrella, we've got light, basic, and professional. Light is really for CentOS 7 customers. We know that y'all have not had to pay for this before, so we're not trying to break the bank on this. We want to make sure that y'all are maintaining the security of your environment. So for $67 per unit per year, and a unit is 1 to 2 VMs or 1 to 2 sockets, we will be pushing out those security patches and upgrades for you for the duration of your commitment. Initially, we're asking for a 3-year commitment, so that means that your CentOS 7 would stay secure for those 3 years. Basic is really taking it up quite a bit. It's including SUSE Manager. And so what SUSE Manager is, it's essentially a single pane of glass or a dashboard that you're able to manage all or most of your Linux distribution. So SUSE Manager is able to manage over 15 different flavors, so including SLES, but also RHEL, also CentOS. You're able to really just manage everything from that single pane of glass, as well as standard support. So this would be our 12x5 support access, where you're able to call in, email, chat for any issues that you have around your environment. Professional really takes things up another notch. This is going to be a little bit more of an apples to apples comparison. SUSE's offering to Red Hat's offering, where we're including priority support in that pricing as well. So you still get SUSE Manager, Linux, long life updates, and then also that priority support. And then you can see the Modernize, where I mentioned previously that does include the SLES licensing as well as everything else that Professional has. So what is Liberty technically? What are we actually doing? Jeff? Ooh, Jeff, did we lose you?
No, it's just the mute button was hiding on me. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, but everybody panicked. So yeah, the technical parts. Really what we're doing, there's a couple of different solutions or options. As you already mentioned, with SUSE Manager being included in some of those options, that is a single pane of glass, like you said. That is a option that brings kind of all of those Linux distributions under that management framework. I like to call it a green colored satellite. It has the same heritage as Satellite does, coming from originally from the Spacewalk project. But that is one option. The light version comes with an option for RMT, which is our repository management tool. And that gives you the ability to kind of create an inside your firewall repository mirror. And you can actually onboard clients for either of these solutions. And in the background, for the light version, you're just changing your repos.d, giving you a yum format repo to pull your updates from. And then the SUSE Manager has an option to as you're onboarding those to be managed under SUSE Manager, it will take care of the changing the repos. Those channels will be part of that onboarding. And then there's also a conversion utility in the background that kind of runs as you onboard these clients that does some of the conversion process. But it is a very low touch, seamless, and able to be, I guess, ran in parallel, so you can do a mass onboarding as well. There's questions that we get about the ETSI release file. This file kind of tells, any querying application or even hosts under management, people will check this to find out what version is currently installed on the system. We add a few comments to the bottom of that, but largely leave it untouched so that any applications that are referring to that ETSI release file to set up environment variables or what have you, we largely just add 4 comments to the bottom saying this is now Liberty Linux, so that people can get a proper inventory and understand what system they're on. The liberate salt formula, this is a formula, as I mentioned before, kind of runs as you're onboarding a host into SUSE Manager, and it actually does a package replacement. So all of the binary equivalent packages are basically refreshed and reinstalled behind the scenes. These are binary equivalents, so really there's no function or form change. All of the libraries, the function calls, everything else are going to be running exactly the same. So it's very, very low impact. And these things are all configured as part of that onboarding process. Config files and anything that's been modified for particular services, those are all left in situ. There's nothing modified there, so that the behaviors of a particular system coming under management doesn't behave any differently. And there are, I'm not sure if we have any of the screenshots around the RPM info, but if you wanted to go into an individual package and check the before and after, you're largely going to see it's signed by a different progenitor, us being the SUSE LLC being the build host and the signatory for those to kind of prove that provenance. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to type them in the questions and I can answer them in the background. But see, we do have one from Ryan. It's asking, what is being done to get third parties to announce support for this distro? Concerned I don't even see it in the newest Rancher support matrix. So this is largely, again, a binary equivalent. So those third parties that have installation instructions saying it's certified for this particular distro or that particular distro, this is largely, again, a full upstream equivalent of the OS, and we are working with application vendors that need to get that on a certified installation matrix, support matrix. We're working with those since we've just started kind of pushing for Liberty as a new offering. That's going to take some time, but it is, again, binary equivalent and the same upstream sources as you found previously. So you shouldn't expect any difference from a support lifecycle for those application vendors, and we can go with you to a particular application vendor if that is a deep concern for you. Good question. Thank you.
Awesome. Before we move on, any other questions about technically what Liberty is? As they pop up, again, please feel free to go ahead and drop them in the questions box. We love to answer questions. Okay, so in addition to the actual product of Liberty, we also have complementary Liberty services as well. So if you guys are used to our premium support engineers, they are also certified to support Liberty as well. So you can still get that great white glove experience from them. We also have training. So if you maybe this is your first time hearing about SUSE Manager, we offer training courses that will allow you to learn about SUSE Manager and really get the best out of it, so that it is, you're getting the best use out of it. You're getting your money's worth and more. We also have deployments options for y'all. So we've got the Onboard, Automate, and Automate Plus. Onboard is really very high level, so it's just going in, doing a health check of your current environment, and then making sure that the Liberty, validating, the Liberty repository. So once you've gone in and you've downloaded it, you've made the changes, we're going to make sure that we're actually calling to the right repo, so we're not going to leave you hanging in that regards. And then also automate. So automate's really awesome because not only does it include all the things from onboard, but you're also going to get a full deployment of SUSE Manager. And what I mean by that is we go in, we'll do a discovery and design workshop, create the deployment plan, actually deploy and configure, and then we validate and test your environment as well. So again, making sure that you're getting the absolute most out of everything that you're receiving from the Liberty promotion. We also have Automate Plus, which is custom. So if you guys have any needs that go beyond Automate, we can absolutely address those under a much more custom statement of work. So we do have a couple of public-facing customer success stories that I wanted to touch on really quickly. Polish Airlines, LOT, they had a big boost of growth. They were running on RHEL 7. And so as they grew, their need for a larger OS also grew. And Red Hat turned around and handed them a bill, and they were not very happy with the number associated with that, and they needed to make some changes. So ultimately, they actually discovered Liberty. We had a bunch of discussions with them, and they made the decision to go ahead and port over, and Liberty is still supporting their environment to this day. Same thing with NPCI. So there's a bank based out of India. They actually had CentOS 7 in production and they had built their largest banking application on top of CentOS 7. And so then when CentOS 7 went end of maintenance, Red Hat wanted them to move over to CentOS Stream. They got pricing on everything, and the price tag was $1 billion with a B in order to make that move. NPCI said, absolutely not. We need to do something else. So again, we were able to come to them and help them find a solution that worked for them. So they're actually still running that application on CentOS 7 to this day, and still being supported by Liberty. So we've got a couple of more questions that popped up in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and read them out loud. Jeff, if you want to come off of mute and help me answer them, that would be great. So from Frank, we've got SUSE Manager. If the client has 4 CentOS VMs, they would get SUSE Manager to push out the patches and updates from Liberty.
So right now, the SUSE Manager, if the client has 4 CentOS VMs, or even if they have more, it might be a bit of a, I don't know, that might be overkill if you only have 4 individual VMs that you want to bring under management. It's certainly possible, 4 or more, 1 or more, SUSE Manager will be able to manage that and give you an actual interface for doing maintenance and updates and provisioning and all sorts of things. SUSE Manager has a boatload of features and capabilities. Otherwise, you can use the RMT, or this repository management tool, and be able to mirror down the patches and updates and be able to provide that as a repository for those VMs to be able to consume. So either way, depending on what level that our customers want to meet us for, the light, the basic, and it will kind of be either available as part of the bundle, or so it kind of points you one way or the other there. But certainly, even with the support offerings that we're putting together for the basic and beyond, SUSE Manager is included in that, and it's as Nicole mentioned, it supports over 15 different varieties of Linux, so you can bring all of your Linux, not just CentOS, under that same single pane of management. Good question. Thanks.
Another question. If we are a new SUSE partner, what is the protocol to approaching some of these customers for complementary services? Is that handled through SUSE Partners team?
Complementary services, I guess I'd like to kind of dig more into that and understand what that means. But as far as protocol, our partner program, we do have, opportunities for enablement with our partners so that they can understand how to use SUSE Manager and create their own services and offerings around that. SUSE Services also has some offerings that I think we're going to talk about a little bit, but those things could also be mimicked for those partners that want to handle services for their customers using CentOS and other Linux distributions, and these particular solutions, offerings. So,
yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I just wanted to say at SUSE, we love working with partners. So if there are any partners on this call and you guys want to develop a strategy around Liberty and how to help your customers with their CentOS 7 and their RHEL 7 environment, we would love to hop on a call with you. You can absolutely reach out to your partner executive and they can loop us in and we can help enable you and your team and really come up with a good strategy to support our customers, our joint customers. We got another question. Can you please share links to any events and resources on how to engage better with SUSE partner team? Yes, we can. Gunjan, if you wouldn't mind, so I've got the slide up on the screen right now that says if you want to keep communicating, like scan that and fill out the form. If you could do that, we'll reach out to you after this call and take this offline and we'll get you fully enabled. We have, will Liberty's hardware component enablement be limited to whatever CentOS and RHEL 7 allowed?
Yeah, I can take that. The hardware components, the hardware enablement is going to be similar. If there is a particular piece of hardware that you are looking for support that isn't readily available in CentOS and RHEL 7, it might be worth talking about SUSE Linux Enterprise Server and the hardware enablement that's done there as well. For this, it is, again, the same upstream source code, and so we are creating packages based on that. There are extensions and things that are offered for RHEL and things like that. We are kind of drawing a line where we are adding support and where we are keeping it the same. I think right now, as far as extensions with CentOS, we're including the HA component, but excluding things like Rev and JBoss from the actual support. So those extensions and things for other application types, while we can cover the OS, we're not going to be taking up and offering support for some of those other components that are other SKUs within the Red Hat environment. So I see you're bringing up a video, McCall.
Yes.
This kind of.
I've got the demo.
I think that's a great thing to show how easy it is to transition and transform a particular system. And instead of a conversion or a migration, I like to call these liberations. Definitely pun intended.
Awesome. Jeff, do you mind narrating? I don't know if there's any audio on that our audience will be able to hear on this. So.
Well, I'll do my best to kind of keep up and say what I'm seeing. I'll do the play-by-play commentary. But I think here on the screen, they're actually showing the before and after. So the Red Hat release kind of showed that, it's Red Hat and Linux 9.2. And then he is actually doing an RMT basic version of the installation. So this is a script that is onboarding, accepting a certificate, and then changing the OS release to show that there is, I don't know, can you pause it for a second? Because it's going really, really fast.
It's going super fast.
The basic piece here is that he's using a connect string that is included with the entitlement, and this is actually connecting. So Kevin Smith is one of our people in EMEA, but it's actually doing the registration for this SUSE Liberty Linux 9 and talking to our SUSE Customer Center, adding the services here, and then he's going to show the repo list, and you can see kind of the before and after. I know you're kind of obscuring the screen a little bit with the play controls, so if you move your mouse off to the left-hand side, it might... or maybe not. do a full screen. Why not?
Yeah.
Maybe even hit this escape key, hide the playback
There we
controls.
go.
There you go. So at this point, since you kind of went back a little bit, it's saying, hey, show me the repo list. And this is, going into the Etsy repos D or, similar on the RHEL server here. And it's saying, hey, you're not registered. So then he goes through the process of registering and listing out, after he's registered it with the upstream, he's going to show a connect string going out to the, now it's a registered system. Now it's showing the repo list, and now it shows that these are the Liberty Linux channels that are coming from the SUSE Customer Center. Now he's actually doing an update. So this would be a, DNF or YAM is going to work the same way and pulling down updates just like you would expect.
And it's really that
Very
easy.
quick. It's really that easy. It really doesn't take very long to do it all. Again, for CentOS customers, that are just switching their repos D to a SUSE provided repository, nothing needs to be done. It's just you're getting your updates and your patches from a different repo source that has been, and then for RHEL and things like that, again, that liberate formula will actually go ahead and do that reinstallation of those packages that are installed on the system from a different vendor. And so that helps with the, any of the branding and things that came from Red Hat. This converts it over to a SUSE provided version to help people from getting out from under the, the legal issues of having something provided by a different vendor.
Awesome. Looks like we have another questions. As far as you know, any server platforms that are currently running CentOS that's not supported by Liberty?
I don't understand what the question is about server platforms. Can you elaborate what you mean by server platforms, Frank?
We'll give him a second.
Sure. And I don't know if it's easier and to kind of ask another question with a little bit more clarity there, but server platforms.
Yeah, he's asking about HP versus Lenovo versus Dell versus Supermicro.
Right.
Is there any limitations?
The hardware enablement. Right. So the hardware enablement, we haven't seen any limitations from IHVs and vendors like that. Again, this is a binary equivalent of an enterprise Linux. This is just a variant. So we're taking the same upstream source and doing the same, build process, and then doing our own QA and our own signing and our own provenance around, that. So it's the same packages that you would find upstream. And we're giving people basically 4 more years to kind of help them with all of the applications and everything, so that basically July 1st is just another day. Hope that answers the question. We've had significant interest from all of the IHVs around being able to give people a long runway and helping them, support what they have today. So it's a
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue, Jeff, just to kind of touch on, we are really offering this to our customers, to y'all, because we really believe in the spirit of open source. We really do want to make sure that you as customers and as, also lovers and users of open source, of Linux, that it remains open source. So we really do at our core believe in that freedom of choice. These SKUs, while there is a 3-year commitment attached to them, there is no obligation for you to migrate over to SLES. We really want to make sure that y'all are making the right choice for you, your workloads, your company, and your customers ultimately.
Yeah, I just put something in the the answers there. It's kind of like, every season, every political season or election season, 4 more years, 4 more years. That's at least what we're doing here with the CentOS and RHEL capabilities, being able to extend that life cycle and give people some breathing room so that they can plan what they want to do next as far as their Linux real estate is concerned.
Awesome. Are there any more questions that y'all have? Oh, Frank. What happens after 3 years? Will SUSE continue to support CentOS and RHEL?
Right. So actually right now it's 4 years. So the extension is until 2028. But at that point, depending on how things go, we might choose to offer some more support for that. At that point, it's getting kind of long in the tooth, right? But there are customers that have mission critical workloads that can't migrate off a specific version. In this case, we also have, that same kind of expanded or extended support lifecycle, and we will have similar offerings there for people to get extended support. And the reality is as those things become, as time goes on and we get to those points, that point 4 years later, being able to support things that get old, it can get more expensive. So it's, that's kind of the support lifecycle conundrum. That's where, hey, how do we do the efforts to actually upgrade this or convert this, or even convert it into a virtual machine or a container to be able to kind of insulate you against the change. But in a lot of cases, people are really appreciating having a lot more time in order to plan for those updates, do the testing to be able to migrate to a newer version. And SLES is a great option.
And also, we do support versions 8 and 9 as well. So it's not
That's
just
right.
7.
That's right. Yep. So we're doing the same thing for the other versions of CentOS and RHEL. Really, CentOS Stream kind of changed what CentOS was in regards to CentOS 7. CentOS Stream is a rolling update, and so in that you are now kind of signing up to have those rolling updates. It becomes a new version just by the fact of it's a rolling update. So no more point releases at that point by switching to a stream.
We've got another question from Corey. He says, if we are already using SUSE Liberty Linux 7, will we continue to receive updates after July 1st?
Okay, if we're already using SUSE Liberty Linux 7, will we continue to receive after July 1st, after June 30th? Really, yes. If you're using Liberty Linux 7 today, those updates will continue for another 4 years at least. And that's kind of the beauty. So if you are using Liberty Linux 7, again, it's giving you 4 more years without concern. And this is why customers are very excited about this opportunity. It allows them to just treat July 1st as just another day. Good question, Corey.
Awesome. Okay, I don't see any more questions in the chat. I feel like I just said that and then another question popped in. I want to double check before.
No, it's
Don't
great.
wanna leave anything unanswered.
Correct.
Okay, no, I don't see any new questions in the question box. So yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time to hang out with us for the past, 35, 40 minutes. If you guys have any further questions, again, let me put up that previous slide. Please scan this QR code, fill out the form, and we will be in touch. If you already know who your SUSE seller is, please feel free to reach out to them to get more information as well. We would love to continue the conversation.